Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise on complex topics, giving you what you really need to know. And today, oh boy, we are diving into that massive, kind of overwhelming world of weight loss supplements. I mean, if you've been online at all this past year, you've definitely seen it. The Blue Tonic, Sumatra Slim Belly Tonic, that's the official name. The ads make it sound almost like magic, but the reality, much more complicated. So, our mission today is to sift through all that intense hype, the glowing praise and the heavy skepticism. We want to pull out what actual users were saying in 2025. Not the marketing spin, but what does this tonic really do for people? I mean, one thing we found, for instance, a really high initial dropout rate, something like, what, almost 40% stopping before day 10, mostly because of side effects. That seems like a good place to start.
Yeah, that statistic is it's a great entry point, actually, because it makes you ask, okay, why are people risking the money in that initial discomfort then? We need to get a handle on the motivations, what's driving people to try it, and then sort of systematically pick apart the feedback, the good stuff, the wins, but also let's be honest, the failures. See if any clear patterns pop out.
Right. Separating the maybe one-off miracle story from like consistent, predictable results.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. There's so many options out there. Why are people landing on Sumatra Slim specifically? What's the main draw?
Well, there are a few clear drivers, and honestly, they often boil down to frustration and maybe a bit of hope. The first big one is just frustration, plain and simple. People are tired. They feel like they've tried, all the usual stuff, diets, workouts, but they're stuck, especially with that stubborn belly fat, that pooch. They kind of see this tonic as maybe a last shot, like something to finally break through that plateau, reset their metabolism somehow.
Ah, okay, so it's positioned as something different, like a biological fix, not just another diet.
Precisely. And that ties into the second reason, the promise of gentleness. People are drawn to this idea of a natural tonic, botanicals, circadian rhythm support, helping digestion. It sounds, well, gentler than those old school diet pills packed with stimulants or, extreme fasting. The whole vibe is softer, more about overall health.
And then, of course, you can't ignore the elephant in the room, especially now, social proof.
Oh, absolutely. Huge factor.
But this stuff is just everywhere, isn't it?
It really is. Instagram, YouTube ads, health forums. People are just bombarded with claims and testimonials.
So that constant exposure, the hype, it just builds up and pulls people in. They figure, well, with this much buzz, maybe there's something to it.
Exactly. But then they actually buy it, and that's where the reality check can hit hard. Looking at the feedback, the disappointments tend to fall into a few consistent buckets. First, and maybe most importantly, effectiveness, or lack thereof. A lot of reviews, I mean a lot, report seeing little to no change. Not in weight, not in inches around the waist, even after sticking with it for 6, maybe 8 weeks.
Those are the really blunt ones, right? The don't waste your money, didn't do a thing type reviews.
Yep, those are quite common. The number 2 connects back to what you mentioned earlier, the side effects. Specifically, that upfront stomach trouble. We're talking gas, some mild bloating, maybe loose stools. Common stuff in that first week.
Right. And while it might not be, like, medically serious for most,
it's definitely uncomfortable enough that it puts people off.
right.
They just decide it's not worth it and stop before they even get through that initial adjustment.
Which leads right into the third complaint.
Cost versus return. Yeah. I mean, this tonic isn't exactly cheap. So if you're not seeing results, or the results are tiny, that price tag starts to feel pretty steep pretty fast.
And alongside that, there's this other layer of concern that pops up in critical reviews, the whole issue around supplement regulation.
That's a really important point. People need to remember supplements aren't drugs. They're not regulated nearly as strictly.
So when we see proprietary blend on the label, what does that actually mean for the consumer? What's the worry there?
Well, the main issue is transparency. Proprietary blend basically means the company doesn't have to tell you exactly how much of each ingredient is in there. So you might see a list of, say, 5 really promising sounding botanicals, but you have no idea if you're getting an effective therapeutic dose of any of them. It could be mostly filler with just a tiny sprinkle of the good stuff.
So without clear clinical data on that specific blend, you're kind of just guessing, hoping it works.
Pretty much. You're relying on the company's claims, which aren't always backed by robust independent science for that exact formula.
Which brings us neatly to that whole attribution question, doesn't it? Like the skepticism you see in some analyses, maybe from financial sites looking at the business side.
Yeah, like that Yahoo Finance piece.
They argue that maybe, just maybe, any success people do experience isn't really from the tonic itself. It could be a kind of expensive placebo effect.
It's a strong possibility.
Yeah,
Think about it. You spent a decent chunk of money on this stuff.
right.
That investment alone might make you more motivated. You start paying closer attention to what you eat. Maybe you walk a bit more.
So you get results, but it's because you changed your behavior, maybe unconsciously, not because the blue liquid did anything magical.
Exactly. You succeed alongside the tonic, not necessarily because of it. It acts like a very expensive reminder to take care of yourself.
An expensive catalyst indeed. Okay, this is where I think it gets really fascinating. We've got all this feedback, right? Hundreds, maybe thousands of experiences, the good, the bad, the meh. When you boil it all down, what actually separates the people who feel it worked from those who just quit? Are there common threads, patterns in how people actually use it day to day?
Absolutely. After digging through tons of reports, we definitely see some consistent patterns emerging. 5 main ones, really. And the first one, it's maybe obvious, but crucial. Consistency matters. Big time. Meaning you can't just take it here and there when you remember and expect anything. It just doesn't work like that. The people who report success, they're all talking about taking it daily without fail for at least 8 weeks, usually more like 12.
Okay, so commitment is non-negotiable. That makes sense. What's number two?
Number 2 builds right on what we were just saying about the placebo effect.
Yeah.
It's a catalyst, not a substitute.
Ah, okay. Elaborate on that.
Almost nobody, like virtually 0 reports, describes this as some kind of magic bullet that just melts fat away while you sit on the couch eating chips.
Right. That's the fantasy, but not the reality.
Not at all. The successful users, pretty much across the board, paired the tonic with something else. Even small things. Maybe just being a bit more mindful of calories, or adding a daily walk, or watching portion sizes, some kind of complementary effort.
So wait, are you saying people are basically paying a premium for a really potent reminder to maybe walk a bit more and skip the late night snacks?
It kind of looks that way sometimes, doesn't it? The tonic seems to work best when it supports lifestyle changes, rather than trying to replace them.
That's quite a finding. Okay, what's the third pattern?
The third one goes back to those initial side effects. We call it the early adaptation phase. We talked about the gas, the bloating, that initial tummy trouble. The data shows that stuff really tends to cluster in the first week, maybe 10 days max. And here's the key. Users who kind of grit their teeth and push through that initial discomfort, they usually find the side effects fade away.
Ah, so getting past that first week is critical. If you quit then, you might miss out on potential benefits later.
Exactly. You need to give your body time to adjust. But that journey isn't always smooth sailing, which brings us to pattern 4, diminishing returns.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means the results often aren't linear. Many users report seeing pretty noticeable changes in the first, say, 4 to 6 weeks. Maybe it's water weight initially, maybe a metabolic kickstart.
The exciting part.
The exciting part, yeah.
Yeah.
But then things tend to slow down. They hit a plateau.
The dreaded plateau?
Yeah. And at that point, users realize, okay, what worked initially isn't enough anymore. They often report needing to consciously tweak the diet further, maybe cut back more, or even take a break from the tonic and restart later to kind of shock the system again.
Interesting. So it's not a set it and forget it solution, even for those it works for initially.
Definitely not. And that leads perfectly into the 5th, and maybe the most fundamental pattern of all. Individual variability is huge.
Meaning it just works wildly differently for different people.
Massively different. Success seems highly dependent on so many individual factors. Your baseline metabolism, your genetics, how stressed you are, your hormone levels.
All the stuff that makes us unique.
Exactly. And that's why, no single supplement, no matter how well marketed, can ever be a guaranteed success for absolutely everyone. Biology is just too complex.
Okay, those 5 patterns paint a really clear picture. Let's try and bring it to life, maybe with a specific example. We have that case study, Priya, right?
Yes, Priya. She's a great example because her journey really touches on all these points. She's 34, was feeling really frustrated after having 2 kids.
Familiar story for many.
Very. And she was specifically drawn in by those ads claiming it could reset your overnight fat burn. That promise really resonated.
So how did it go for her, month by month?
Well, month 1 was definitely rocky. Just like the pattern suggests, she hit that early adaptation phase hard, bloating, gas. She seriously considered quitting.
She didn't.
She pushed through. And she also made one small lifestyle change, consciously cutting back on late-night junk food. Nothing drastic.
Okay. And the result?
She lost about 2 kilograms, roughly 4.5 pounds. Enough to feel encouraged, to feel like, okay, maybe this is doing something. She got past the adaptation hurdle.
Got it. So that initial success probably motivated her for month 2.
Exactly. Seeing the scale move, she embraced that catalyst idea. Her energy levels felt more stable, so she added just 2 short 20-minute home workouts each week. Very manageable. Another solid loss, about 2.5 kilos, maybe 5.5 pounds. Plus, she mentioned her clothes felt noticeably looser. Things were looking good.
Okay. Sounds promising. So month 3, did the magic continue?
Month 3, that's where she hit the diminishing returns wall.
The plateau.
The plateau. After losing around 4.5 kilogram total, in month 3, she only lost about 1 more kilogram, maybe 2 pounds.
So even with the consistency and the added workouts, the effects slowed right down.
Right. Her body adapted. She realized the easy wins were over. To keep losing, she figured she'd need to get much stricter with her diet, especially carbs. And interestingly, she also connected it to sleep. She realized she wasn't consistently getting a solid 7 hours and thought that might be hindering things too.
Wow. So she started thinking more holistically about her health, not just the tonic.
Exactly. So faced with that plateau, she actually decided to pause the tonic. Her thinking was she needed to address those bigger lifestyle factors: diet, sleep more seriously before restarting it to get the most bang for her buck, essentially.
That's really insightful. So Priya's final take.
Overall, she lost about 5.5 kilograms, around 12 pounds, in roughly 12 weeks. She felt it did support her journey, but it absolutely wasn't a miracle cure.
It required that partnership, right? Her effort plus the supplement.
Precisely. It reinforced that consistency and using it as a catalyst were key, and that individual variability, like her needing more sleep focus and diminishing returns, are real. Her story basically illustrates all 5 patterns perfectly.
So if we try and zoom out now, connect Priya's experience and those patterns to the bigger picture, we have to look hard at the product's claims versus the actual objective data available. The marketing really leans into some big physiological ideas, doesn't it? Resetting metabolism overnight, circadian rhythm, tackling root causes like poor sleep, stress. Yeah, it sounds very sciencey, very sophisticated. But what's the actual evidence backing up those specific claims for this specific tonic?
Well, here's the thing. As of now, in 2025, when you look for publicly available, peer-reviewed clinical studies on the specific Sumatra Slim Belly Tonic proprietary blend, there's limited evidence to unequivocally prove it works exactly the way the marketing suggests.
Okay, so the claims about resetting circadian rhythm and all that, maybe not directly proven for this formula?
Not rigorously, no.
Yeah.
The support for individual ingredients often comes from, traditional use or maybe small separate studies on just one ingredient, sometimes even animal studies.
Which isn't the same as proving the whole blend works synergistically in humans at the doses provided.
Exactly. It's a crucial distinction for you, the consumer, to understand. And we also have to acknowledge the other side of the coin, the consumer protection angle. Critical reviews and watchdog groups often highlight user complaints. These things get discussed in consumer protection files, like those kept by state agencies.
So there's definitely scrutiny happening, and people are lodging complaints about effectiveness or maybe side effects.
Yes, which, again, just advises caution for potential buyers. But then you see this weird contradiction.
I mean, those aggregate review scores?
Yeah. Some of these review roundup sites, often linked from the sales page, will claim really high ratings, like 4.6 out of 5 stars, based on their internal data.
Okay, but hang on. Given everything we just said, the regulatory looseness, the proprietary blends, the high dropout rate, the common lack of results, how can a 4.6 out of 5 rating be remotely realistic? Doesn't that just scream sampling bias or marketing manipulation?
You have to be extremely skeptical of those internal aggregate scores. It's highly likely there's significant bias. Maybe they only survey satisfied customers or heavily weight reviews from people who bought multiple bottles. It's a powerful marketing number, but it probably doesn't reflect the average user's experience accurately.
Right. Stick to the patterns we see in broad, uncurated feedback, not the potentially skewed internal numbers. Okay, so wrapping this all up, what does this mean for you listening right now? Maybe you're curious, maybe you're frustrated like Priya was. What's the practical, actionable advice we can pull from all this real user feedback?
Okay, based on what seems to work for those who do find success, here are the key takeaways. First, start slow, but commit long-term. Aim for at least 8 to 12 weeks. Don't expect miracles in week 1 or 2. Benefits, if they come, seem to build gradually.
Got it. Patience and consistency. Second.
Second, Expect that adjustment period. To know that mild digestive upset in the first week or so is common, try to give your body that 7–10 days to adapt before throwing in the towel, unless it's severe, of course.
Okay, manage expectations about the start. Third point.
Third, and I think this is really important, track more than just weight. Pay attention to holistic metrics,
Like?
like your waist measurement, how your clothes fit, your energy levels throughout the day, your digestion quality, even your cravings. Sometimes those non-scale victories are the first signs something positive is happening.
Good point. Focus on overall feeling, not just the number. What's number 4?
Fourth, remember the companion, not crutch idea. Use it to support healthy habits, not replace them. You absolutely need some intentional effort with diet and activity, even just simple stuff like walking more or watching portions, to really see significant effects. The tonic likely won't do the heavy lifting on its own.
Makes sense. It amplifies effort, doesn't create results from nothing. And
Finally, two crucial practical tips. 1. Scrutinize your source. Only buy directly from the official website or truly reputable retailers. The market is flooded with fakes, apparently, and you don't want to waste money or risk ingesting who knows what.
super important safety tip. And the last one.
Always, always talk to your doctor before starting any new supplement, especially this kind. Particularly if you have any underlying health conditions or are taking other medications, get that professional okay first. #tag outro. So let's try and give a final verdict based on what users were actually experiencing in 2025. Does Sumatra Slim Belly Tonic really live up to all that intense, almost magical hype? The most honest answer seems to be sometimes for some people, but definitely not universally. Most of the reported success stories involve modest weight loss, maybe in the range of, say, 3 to 10 kilograms, that's roughly 7 to 22 pounds, spread over several months. And crucially, that success is almost always tied to making those lifestyle changes alongside it.
Right. And the disappointment.
Disappointment nearly always comes down to one of two things. Either expectations were way too high based on the marketing, or the person wasn't consistent with taking it, or they didn't pair it with any lifestyle effort.
So that individual variability really is the biggest takeaway, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
Which kind of brings us full circle, thinking about the tonic's own claims. It talks about tackling deeper issues like sleep, stress, maybe hormonal balance. If the clearest finding from real users is that results vary wildly from person to person, it makes you wonder what crucial underlying factor, maybe something beyond just diet and exercise, could be the real roadblock for you. What might you need to address or reset in your own life before any kind of supplement, this one or another, could actually make a meaningful difference? Something to think about. That's all for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.